Welcome to episode 51 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. Last week, we took a bit of a break after our 50th episode. We couldn't really find a good time to get together to talk. But today, we are back for episode 51. We have lots to talk about as we're recording. NBA free agency just opened. The NBA finals is over. The NHL finals are over. There's just so much news in sports right now, so this could be a very action-packed episode as we will be talking a lot. So me and Brandon may not have some voices left after this episode, but I guess I just spoiled it. Today joining me again, like always, is the old reliable Mr. Welma. Brandon, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, it's been a while. Like Noah said, we couldn't find time. We also had a big power outage in our area, which kind of screwed it up for us. So I guess it's been in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think like what we were talking about last time. We came
It
like
was
third
it
or
was
fourth
literally
in our
started.
golf
It was
tournament.
literally last one we talked about the NHL finals, about who was going to
Yeah,
win, and now here we are. The finals are over 2 weeks later.
yeah, it's crazy. But just like sort of what we were saying with our lives, the golf tournament we were in, we did all right.
Yep.
Um, Baseball, we're 2-0. You can't complain. And
Yep, the boys are buzzing right now
the
and
boys are
everything.
buzzing. And we're about to go to the marshes this weekend in Ottawa,
Yep,
Canada.
yep.
Exciting.
Big weekend for the boys.
We just got to find one
Um,
more person.
yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah.
But we'll jump right into this since I already did say it is a full action-packed or content-packed episode. Brandon, I believe before we get into the NHL finals, we have a bit of hockey news that you want to go over.
Yeah, just some quick things. The World Junior dates were announced. The tournament's going to be running from August 9th to August 20th. Some cool things. Basically, any player that was eligible to play back in December and January are still eligible to play, no matter age restrictions or anything like that. Stats are going to be wiped and they're starting fresh. And Russia's being replaced by Latvia, which makes the division a lot easier for Canada.
No kidding.
I think their division is Canada, Finland, Czechia, Slovakia, and Latvia.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better than it was.
Yeah, Russia's a powerhouse, and apparently, I guess Russia won't be able to. Russia is also for next World Juniors already replaced by Latvia. It'll be these 10 teams again next year.
No,
Which
so there's no relegation now.
no, Russia's out. Which I think is crazy because Russia's a very big hockey place, right? So they're always competitive, and they do love their hockey down there. So I think it's kind of interesting.
No kidding, yeah.
Um, What else is there going on? We got the Hall of Fame inductees. There was a bunch more, but I'm just going to name the NHL ones because we don't really go into women's professional hockey that much and coaching and stuff like that. So for NHLers, we had Henrik and Daniel Sedin, we had Roberto Luongo, and we had Danny Alfredson. So I don't think you can say any of them is undeserving, but are you surprised? For like the Sedins and Luongo that they were their first time eligible they were put in.
No, not at all. They're both deserving. The one thing I find very interesting is I could be wrong, but there is not a single Stanley Cup ring that got inducted this year.
Nope, you're right.
None of those guys have a ring, which is kind of crazy considering they're Hall of Fame players. You expect them to be on good teams, but it was just those type of players, like I wouldn't say none of them are not deserving. As you said, they're all deserving. Henrik and Daniel, and then Luongo is probably a top 10 goalie of all time. And then Alfie, those are household names. If you talk about that with anybody, they'll be able to have some sort of conversation with you about these players. But I did find it very interesting that combined there are 0 cups in that whole inductee class.
Yeah, it just shows how hard it is to win it because all four of these guys did lose in the Cup Finals. Actually,
Yep.
I guess Henrik, Daniel, and Roberto Luongo were on the 2011 team.
Yeah, it
And
would have
then
been when Boston won it.
Elferson lost to the Ducks in like 2008 or something like that.
2007, yeah.
Yeah. They all made it there, but it's hard to win.
Oh, yeah.
So next question is we saw Vegas trade for basically Shea Weber's contract to use an LTIR to give them more cap space for next season. Do you think the Habs go next year captainless, or do you think they name someone? And if so, who do you think it'd be?
For this year, I expect him to go captainless. You know, Shea Weber's a Hall of Fame player. He will be inducted whenever he does retire, whenever he's eligible. So I think you sort of got to give him his respect for a year. You know, you've seen it with Ottawa, with Carlson. They have until last year. They named Brady Tkachuk. I wouldn't even be surprised if they go multiple years without having a captain. If they're going to give it to a captain, I would not be surprised if Nick Suzuki gets it. He just seems like he's a leader. You know, he's probably a captain doesn't always go to your best player, obviously, but I feel like he's a young player and he will develop into that leader, kind of like the Sens are hoping to happen with Brady Tkachuk. So I think they'll go captainless for at least this year. But I would not be shocked to see Nick Suzuki get that C down the line.
Yeah, they're a super young team, so it's going to be interesting. I agree with you. I think they're going to go captainless, and I think they might go captainless for a while, kind of like the Leafs did in between Phaneuf and Tavares. They don't really have any people on the back end that you'd kind of see. I think it's just going to be a kind of like you said, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and then maybe even Shane Wright, one of those three in the next couple of years. I'm assuming.
Speaking of Shane Wright, he is not number one on draft boards anymore. He got replaced this week by that Yuroslavsky guy or whatever.
I still think I don't know. The Canadians are always a team that like I know if they can they pick people from Quebec, but they always pick
It'll
Canadians.
be interesting for next week's draft for sure.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into that next.
We can talk about that. We can talk about a bit of a draft recap in next week's episode for sure.
Another thing is we had our first big trade of the off season. Kevin Fiala, formerly on the Minnesota Wild, very good player. I think his contract was like $7 million a year.
7.9 for 7.
7.9 by 7 traded to the Kings in a sign and trade for the 19th overall pick.
I am a fan personally for both teams. Fiala is a great player, but with Suter and Parise's buyout really starting to dig in this year, there's no way you're going to be able to sign Fiala. And the fact that you were able to get a young defenseman who's actually the captain of the Michigan or the Central Michigan hockey team or the Minnesota, sorry. He's the captain of the Minnesota college team. So he's right there, you know. He wants to play in Minnesota if he obviously went to college there. And then you got number 19 who you could possibly get in a good player because this is a very deep draft class this year. So personally, I'm a fan for both teams.
Yeah, I like it for both as well, just because you talk like Minnesota. Unfortunately, obviously, you want to keep a guy like that, but they are in such a cap hell with the buyouts and stuff like that. It was going to be impossible. So to get anything for him is definitely a win. And the 19th pick, like you said, and a good young rookie on the defensive end is good. And then for LA, they're a young team. They're actually a good mix. They got a lot of youth, and then they got a lot of vets. And Kevin Fiala fits right into that time zone. He's 25. This LA team, they rebuilt right, and they look very good for the next upcoming season, for sure.
And the next years to come.
Yeah, they're gonna be good for a while. So yeah, I think with that, I'm just looking. There's some other hockey news, but that's kind of stuff like we got the draft and like we said, free agent coming up, and there's still the San Jose Sharks don't have a general manager, which
I saw they're going with a rookie GM.
Did they sign one?
No, they didn't sign one, but they're going for like their signing will not be like somebody with GM experience.
That's what I heard too. It'll be a new GM, but with the draft and the free agency coming up, you're definitely going to want to have one. And then there's still 3 teams without a NHL coach. You have the Boston Bruins, you have the Detroit Red Wings.
No, the Red Wings just signed a coach
Did
right
they?
before we got record.
Who'd they sign? And then who's the other
Hold up,
team?
I saw it on Twitter as I was trying to go through all the NBA.
There's
Stuff.
another team, anyways, that doesn't have one.
Is it? I think it's Winnipeg. They
It is Winnipeg. You're right.
Derek Lalonde.
Okay, never heard of him. Oh,
Me neither.
that makes so much sense. He's the Lightning assistant coach.
Yep, he is. So Yzerman. There
Which
it
means
is.
he's got
CBY.
ties with Yzerman.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
So it seems like the Red Wings obviously waited for the Cup Finals to end and then definitely
signed him. Yeah,
got right into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's lots of other hockey news like that. But I think instead of like speculating, we can just wait for it to happen. So yeah, it's pretty interesting there. As Noah said, we had the the NHL Finals end. Obviously, Colorado won the series 4-2 in Tampa Bay. Was this the finals you were expecting?
I mean, I can't say yes because I predicted on episode 50 that Tampa was going to win 7. So I can't really say yes to that question. But at the same time, I don't think the better team lost. I think the better team did win on paper. I just kind of sort of went with the three-peat idea. So I can't say I'm really surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised either way because both of these teams were powerhouses on their own right. So yes and no, I'll say.
Yeah. Obviously, I picked Colorado in 7. But even if Tampa Bay won this, I think I can say I could have said that this series went the way we kind of thought. I think we all thought it was going to be a hard fought, pretty close battle that went the distance, either 6 or 7, and that's kind of what we got. The first couple games were kind of a little bit blowouts, but from game 3 on, they were all super close, super entertaining. The teams definitely did not like each other. You had things like Corey Perry throwing Kempfer's water bottle away. You had Kucherov slashing Darcy Kempfer like in between whistles. They did not like each other, and it definitely showed. It was very fun to watch. It's kind of unfortunate because I mean you can never say, like you hate to say like Colorado just won the series because of injuries, but if you do look at the injury report,
it's lengthy.
It's very lengthy. If you're looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'll just read it off here. Pierre Bellemare, meniscus injury at the beginning of the playoffs, played the whole way. Cirelli, AC joint sprain in his shoulder and dislocated his other shoulder. So basically both shoulders out, and that was against New York, stayed the whole time. Kucherov, MCL sprain against Colorado, played the whole time. Paul had a shoulder AC joint sprain against New York, and then an MCL sprain against Colorado. Corey Perry also sprained his shoulder. Point, obviously, against Toronto, tore his quad. McDonough, it sounds like he broke his finger against New York. And
whatever mangled means.
yeah, so anyways, and that's just things we've
mangled.
heard about. Also, Brandon Hagel apparently really hurt his foot against Florida. So all these guys, I mean, this is playoff hockey. They've been hurt in the second, third.
They are absolute warriors when it comes to
Yeah.
playoff hockey.
Did you see Nichushkin's foot?
Yeah, he was on today. The day we're recording this was their parade. We're recording on June 30th, day before Canada Day. He was on a wheelchair in the parade.
Yeah,
that's nuts. Like
and
the
then,
fact that he was able to fit a skate on that broken foot and play through it just shows how much these guys want to win, how much this means to them. And, all respect to every player that played through an injury. Like, there's no way that I'd be able to play through a broken foot. I wouldn't even be able to, I'd be too much of a wimp to even try to put a skate on.
No, exactly. I'm the same way. And, like, even on Colorado's side, the injuries weren't as high, but, like, Nazem Kadri in his interview said the trainer had to tie his skates for him before getting
There's no way his finger was even close to 50%. His finger was.
Apparently it's a 7-week recovery, and he only took 18 days off. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I don't want to be the one to say that the series would have been different if there's no injuries, because it's the Stanley Cup Finals in the NHL. There's injuries everywhere, but I think it would be interesting to see both teams at full. But like I've said, by the time he gets to the Cup Finals, teams won't be ever full. So we'll see. In your mind, did the best team win?
On paper, yes. I think that they were the better team throughout the series, and they showed that they were the better team throughout that throughout the season and the series. So yeah, I do believe that the better team in Colorado won. The only reason I went with Tampa in the first place to actually win was the goalie situation. But Kemper did play very well. He was I can't say he played well. He was a bit shaky. There's a couple goals that he should have had. But Colorado took advantage whenever they had the chance to and they even got a 7 spot on Andre Vasilevsky, which is very rare to see.
Yeah, I have to say, I definitely, no disrespect to Tampa, I do think the best team won. I think Colorado just showed over the last couple of years they're so dominant, and it just took them getting over the hump of getting past the second round, and then they showed that they were kind of unstoppable. I mean, they went 16-4 in the playoffs. That's nuts. I think I can't remember the stat, but I was listening, and the last team to have that record or better, it's been a very long time. It hasn't happened in the 2000s, anyways. So they kind of steamrolled the league this year. I don't think you're going to, but do you think anybody else could have pushed Makar for the playoff MVP?
No, he's just a different breed. People are really high on him. I'm very high on him, not as high as some. Like people are putting him like he's the best player in the league. I still think it's 1A and 1B with Victor Hedman for the best of D in the league. Like I'm not giving any disrespect to him. I'm just giving my respect to Hedman. But in this series, he looked different. He was easily the best player in this series and the best player in the playoffs. So he definitely deserved that award.
Yeah, I got no disagreements there. And to just go with what you were saying, I was watching the Spit and Chicklets podcast today, and Biz Nasty, I already said he's the next Bobby Orr, so that's what you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
One quick thing, the Stanley Cup playoffs are over, so we get to look forward to next year, and they already have the 2023 Stanley Cup odds.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, have you seen them?
No, I can't say I have. So
No? Okay, do you
let
want
me
to
hear
try
it.
and guess the top 5?
Top 5. Okay, so one is obviously going to be Colorado.
Yeah.
2. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. I don't know if I want to go right back to Tampa or if there's gonna be someone new. I'll go Tampa. 2, Tampa.
Tampa's number 4.
Number 4. Okay, that's fair. Number 2, the Toronto's definitely gonna be up there, so I'll go TO number 2.
Toronto's number 2.
Yep. Number 3,
This one shocked me.
Oilers.
The Flames. The Panthers, sorry. The Panthers.
Yeah. That's a fair one. Even though they did play pretty bad, that's on their paper. On paper, they got to be up there.
Yeah.
And number 5, Carolina.
It's actually the Vegas Golden Knights.
Wow. Okay.
So I'll give you the top.
Playoffs, cracks the top 5.
I'll give you the top, like 15, the top half of the league, because that's like what there's like 16 teams that make playoffs. So I'll give you top 16, and you tell me if you think anybody's missing or anybody shouldn't be there. And I'll go in order. 1 Colorado, 2 Toronto, 3 Florida, 4 Tampa, 5 Vegas, 6 Calgary, 7 Carolina, 8 Rangers, 9 Oilers, 10 Minnesota, 9 St. Louis. 11 Minnesota, 12 St. Louis, 13 Pittsburgh Penguins, 14 Bruins, 15 Islanders, 16 Dallas Stars.
Who's like 17 and 18?
LA Kings, Washington Capitals. And then you got the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo Sabres and the LA Kings have almost the same chance of winning the cup, apparently.
Wow. Teams I can see dropping off. I hate to say it, but if Pittsburgh doesn't re-sign Malkin or Letang, they're going to drop off.
I think that's why they're so low.
If this isn't going to turn into a Pittsburgh Penguins rant, but I am not a fan of Ron Hextall at all right now. Just the way he's handling this free agency so far. I like the Russ contract, but the fact that he's just saying, screw it, I'm not going to re-sign these 2 counter pieces of my organization just kind of pisses me off, even if they are getting older. They both did not show much signs of slowing down, especially the Tang. Teams I could see I would honestly, the way it's going, I could see Minnesota not being there, being that high, and I could see a team like LA taking their spot,
Yeah, for sure. I like you said about
and even
Pittsburgh, like
Boston possibly.
I would have thought there would have been some news on the Malkin Letang situation by now.
Apparently, the with Letang's party, they're only about just over $1 million off. So I feel like that will get done. I'm honestly pretty convinced that Malkin will be in a different jersey next year, which is
Which is
crazy.
funny because a couple weeks ago when we did this, we thought if one was going to come back, it was going to be Malkin.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's very interesting.
Very interesting time being a Penguins fan.
Yeah, and interesting on the playoff odds there.
Yep.
But hey, it is what it is. So yeah, I think just to wrap up the NHL, we've done sort of one for most of the playoff teams. We'll do a quick season wrap up here. We'll start off with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are actually negative $1.8 million in cap, negative $1.9 million in cap space.
This is Tampa. Tampa's -9.
Yeah, but fortunately for them, they have Brent Seabrook on LTIR, which is $6.8 million.
I forgot they had that contract.
Which actually means they'll go into they'll go into this offseason with about $5 million in cap space. With that $5 million, they have UFAs in Riley Nash, Andre Palat, and Nick Paul, and Jan Ruda. That's it. They've got 4 guys not signed.
Not bad. I saw as Teoscar homers to center, 2-0 Jays.
Nice.
I saw a report today that they're talking with Ryan McDonough's party because he has a full no trade to try to get him moved. He's got about 4 years at 6.8 mil left as a 33-year-old. It'll be interesting to see if anybody will be takers on him because I still think he's a very good defenseman, probably a top 4 defenseman. And another name I got that got thrown out a lot was Alex Killorn in the trade market. So that'll be interesting. I think the number one priority being Tampa is Andre Palat. I don't think that Nick Paul is a really priority. Not saying he's a good player. I just think that he's sort of like with one of those playoff rental players. And then you don't need. I don't think that Riley Nash or Jan Ruda will be back. Maybe Ruda since they're trying to move McDonough, but I think your number one priority is free up money to get Palat.
Yeah, I definitely think Palat's going to be back. I think the number's going to be pretty big.
After the playoffs he had, it'll definitely be up there.
Yeah, you got Cirelli making 4.8, and then the next
that's a steal, honestly.
Yeah,
the player he is, that's a steal of a contract.
And then the next most expensive contract is Stamkos at 8.5, so I think he'll land somewhere in the middle.
I say Palat gets probably close to Kevin Fiala money, probably a bit more.
Yeah, I could see him getting 8 for sure.
Yeah, 8's a good. I think 8's good for him, to be honest.
If he gets
not
8,
overpaid,
that means
not underpaid.
Yeah, if he 8, that means they gotta lose 3 mil somewhere else, and then if that you do that, that means Riley Nash. I think Riley Nash is gone regardless. I think they would.
The only reason Riley Nash was playing in the playoffs was because Braden Point was hurt.
Yeah, I think Nick Paul would. I think they would like to get Nick Paul back, obviously, but that one might be difficult. I don't know what type of money Jan Ruda is gonna want.
Not very much.
I wouldn't guess too much. I'm trying to see what he made last year. It's hard. There's so many numbers here. So many numbers. He was making 1.3.
I say probably around there again if you can get him. I think he's a good for 1.3. That's a good depth defenseman price.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, if you're a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, just hope you can get Palat back, and the salary cap might start getting this team here. They won't be able to sign these third liners like they have been the last couple of years. And with the injuries they have, they might go off to a rocky start next season, but we'll see how it goes. Where it really gets interesting is when we move over to the Colorado Avalanche side of things. They currently have $25.5 million of cap space.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to sign Kubel, Lehkonen, Burakovsky, Cogliano, Helm, Kadri, Nichushkin, Nico Strom, Jack Johnson, Josh Manson, and Darcy Kempfer. That's a lot
Big
of
list. Go through it. Go through those names again. I'll tell you re-sign how much, or if I think they'll walk.
Darcy Kempfer.
I think he'll walk. I see them rocking with Francois and maybe like a Braden Holtby name as a 1A, 1B sort of tandem. This team is good enough that you don't really need a star goalie. Darcy Kemper was not very good in some playoff games, and they still won the Stanley Cup. So I think that if you get someone that can sort of be a tandem with Francois, kind of like what the Leafs were trying to do this year, but then they got injury-prone Mrazek. I think Kemper's price will be too high, so I think he walks.
Yeah. I saw Marc-Andre Fleury's name sort of flying around there. I mean, Ryan Murray's a free agent, but I think he'll be gone. Josh Manson.
I think they'll try to bring him back. I think he was very good in the playoffs. What he gets, I'm not too sure. But like a little spoiler, like they're not going to be paying.
He made $4.1 million last year.
I say he gets 5 mil probably around that. Spoiler to my prediction, you're not going to be signing Kadri. He's going to be going somewhere else. So there's money on the table. I think you bring him back. I think you pair him with a guy like Bowen Byram on the second pair for next year, where Manson's more of a defensive defenseman and Byram's sort of like a Value Village type Cale Makar. I think that's a good pairing.
Yep. Another thing you gotta keep in mind is next year you have to sign Nathan McKinnon, who's only making $6 million a year right now. 35-year-old Jack Johnson, who made.
I think he retires. Go out on a high note. He's still getting paid the next 3 years by Pittsburgh. You go out on a high note. You won your first Stanley Cup. Might as well. And he was barely getting on a team this year.
Yeah, I agree. And that's your defense. So you think Murray and Johnson are gone. And then you got Makar, Eric Johnson, Gerard, and Taves, and then Byram, Manson.
Yep.
That's not a bad 6.
Not a bad.
Kubel.
He didn't play at all in the playoffs. He was on basically every team at the start of the year as he kept getting claimed on waivers, and he ended up on the championship winning team. So I don't really see how he comes back unless you need him as a fourth liner, because I don't think that Cogliano or Helm come back because they're both older, unless they just want like veteran minimum to play fourth line. So if you're going to sign Obey Kubel, it's going to be for fourth line minutes. He played that during the regular season. They just made trades that sort of bumped him out of the lineup at the deadline. There's no way he makes more than 1.5 next year, though.
Something that would actually shock you, maybe, is he played 14 games in these playoffs.
Oh, okay. He wasn't in the finals.
He played 14 of their 20 games. No points.
Okay, so that makes sense.
No points. Yeah, he was playing a little bit of fourth line minutes for them. I didn't even realize this. Artturi Lehkonen, he's only 26.
Yes, he's an RFA.
He is an RFA.
Him and Nichushkin are the 2 RFAs. I say you bring him
Kubel
back.
is also an RFA.
I say, yeah, okay, fair enough. Kubel, I say you bring him back, or not Kubel, Lehkonen. He scored the championship winning goal. He scored that overtime. He's a great, they had him in on the first power play unit when Kadri was hurt. He's sort of one of those players that you could sort of plug in wherever in your lineup and he will succeed. I say he gets probably the same amount as Josh Manson, anywhere from 4.5 to 5. If you can lock him up on that for 4 to 5 years, I think that's a great price for a player like him.
Yeah, he climbed the lineup pretty quick. I saw in some finals he was playing first line minutes, first line power play for sure. Only making 2.3 last year, so he's definitely getting a raise.
Definitely.
Who'd you say was also an RFA? They are not an RFA. Is
Nichushkin.
what you were saying. He is
No,
not an
Nichushkin's a UFA. It's just
Yeah,
Kubel and Lehkonen,
yeah.
my bad.
Veteran Cogliano. We'll do
I
both because they're both veterans. I think they'll be in the same boat. You got Cogliano and Darren Helm.
I think they're sort of close to the same boat as Jack Johnson, where they won their cup, and it might be time for them to lace the skate ups. They were both fourth line minutes. Andrew Cogliano is an absolute dog out there with the just throwing his body on the line. You know, especially being 36, you don't really see much 36-year-olds just laying out for
No.
blocks. But whenever you're winning, you're going for your first championship. You do anything you can. That one he took off the knee. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember the one. He sort of went down on two knees and it hit him like right above the shin pad, like right on the top of the knee.
He blocked a lot of shots, that guy.
Yeah. Um, I could probably see both of them getting re-signed, or not, maybe not both of them, maybe one of the two for like a veteran deal to play fourth line. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if both of them hang it up. They both had pretty good careers. I think Helmer won a couple with Detroit in
Yep.
09. So
Cogliano, did he win a
I
cup with
think
the
I
Ducks?
think he won one with the Ducks.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think if either of them come back, it'll be for like $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, something along those.
I'm just looking at it right now. I think if somebody does come back, it might be Helm just because he's a center, a little bit more valuable.
Yeah.
You kind of already said this, but Nazem Kadri.
I think that after the year he had, I think it's too much, especially whenever you said that they have to pay Nathan McKinnon next year. He's going to get probably north of 9 mil in free agency, and that's just something you can't really afford. With probably another spoiler, bringing back Nichushkin, Manson, Lehkonen, and saving money for McKinnon next year. Not that I don't think they're going to want to bring him back. Obviously, a player like Kadri's caliber, you want to have on your team. I just think his price tag is too high, and that he will get that from other teams in free agency.
Yeah. So you also got Nichushkin, who was $2.5 million last year.
So in my opinion, I think Nichushkin's starting to get a bit overrated. Not that I don't think he's a good player. I just think that he's going to get overpaid for what he is worth. In the regular season, he was not very good, and then all of a sudden he had a great playoffs. You've seen this with other players in the past. I can't think of any to name off the top of my head where they have a really good playoff and then they get overpaid and don't keep that play up. I think that's going to happen with Nichushkin. I saw him probably getting in the range of 6 mil. I think he's more of a 4 mil player. I think that him and Lehkonen are sort of the same like caliber of player. But after the playoffs he had, I think he's going to probably get close to 6 mil, and I do think Colorado will give it to him.
Yeah, just like what you were saying. This year in the playoffs, he played all 20 games, 15 points. This is his third year on Colorado. In his other 2 years, he had 25 games, which is 5 more games than last year, and only 6 points compared to 15. Same with regular season. His first year with Colorado, 65 games, 27 points. Second year with Colorado, 55 games, 21 points. Whereas this year, 62 games, 52 points. So he definitely had a very good year, and he picked a good year to do it on a contract year.
Really?
Leaving the biggest name for last, Nico Sturm.
Nico Sturm. They traded for him at the deadline. They sent Tyson Jost over just to get some bigger fourth liners. Yeah, like you said, he's a fourth line player. I'm pretty sure he was hurt for most of the playoffs, and then he was finally inserted when he was healthy. I could be wrong again on that, but
Played 13 games.
How many?
13.
So yeah, he wasn't. I think he was hurt for like the 7. Excuse me. I think that if he is healthy, he's in for those other 7 games he missed, because he's a fourth line player that you want to have. It'll be interesting to see what he gets. He's obviously not much more than a third line player, but I guess we'll see.
In counting the playoffs and the regular season combined, he played 34 games, 0 goals, 5 assists for the guy.
What a guy.
For the
0
guy,
goal club.
making $725,000 a year. So he's definitely going to be a cheap one to bring back. Yeah, so I guess we'll move into NBA, which I guess you'll take over. I did the NHL. You can.
Yeah. So
NBA.
as we're talking, I was like, friggin', of course, I just
The phones are going nuts.
The phones are going nuts.
Left, right, and
Um,
center.
Currently, we are in the middle of free agency. It opened today. A lot of names have signed already. If I'm going to try to pull it up, I'm going to bring the bigger names. I won't do every single deal because we might be here for a while. But first, this happened yesterday. We'll talk about it before. Big trade. The San Antonio Spurs sent DeJounte Murray to the Atlanta Hawks for 3 picks, a swap, and Danilo Gallinari. I know you are not as big of a fan of it for both teams as I am, so I'll let you sort of give your opinion on it first before I go into mine.
See, here's my stance. DeJounte Murray's a great player. But I think I'm kind of in the minority here, where a lot of people like this trade for the Atlanta Hawks, where I like this trade more for the San Antonio Spurs. I know the Spurs are planning on waiving Gallinari, so it's basically just the picks for Murray. But I guess in the Spurs mindset, they got a good player in DeJounte Murray, and we're hoping to build around him, but they just haven't gotten the pieces around him that they wanted. So I guess their plan is to trade him away and try it again. Um, my only problem with the Atlanta Hawks is I love DeJounte Murray as a player, and I think he's going to be a very good player in this league. Only thing I'm worried about is they're not a very good team. They traded a bunch of picks, which is their future, and so adding players is going to be hard because Atlanta isn't a big free agent destination, I don't think. So my only problem is like with DeJounte Murray, are they now like contenders? I don't think so. And I don't know how they're gonna get better is my worry.
So I'll go the opposite. I'm a big fan for the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not really thinking about the future picks. I'm more thinking about right now. I think that's a perfect guard to put in the backcourt with Trae Young. He's all obviously an all defensive player. And Trae Young is not a defensive player at all. I also think that it sort of frees up more sort of wiggle room for Trae Young because DeJounte Murray isn't really the best floor spacer. He can knock down the three if he wants to, but he's not a shooter like Trae Young. So I think this will sort of open up new possibilities for that offense to be able to run stuff without Trae Young carrying the ball up, with DeJounte maybe carrying it up and being more of a facilitator. Obviously, you're still going to have Trae Young carrying the ball up. They're still going to get their buckets, but I think this sort of opens up a bigger picture where I think Clint Capella and maybe even John Collins still get moved this offseason. Like, I do not think that the Atlanta Hawks are done this offseason. Aneka Kongwu, who they took 6th overall 2 years ago, played really good when Clint Capella was hurt this year. So I think that he'll sort of get the keys to that center position. I think that another move is sort of coming for the Hawks, which is why I am okay with them trading for DeJounte Murray. I don't think they're done. And I think that the pairing, like just the backcourt of having 2 all-star guards, is very appealing. One being a knockdown scorer, one being a facilitating defensive lockdown. But I do sort of understand your point on how I don't think this yet makes them a championship team, and these picks could come back to haunt them. But at the same time, I don't think the Atlanta Hawks are done with making moves this offseason.
No, I think that's where we're not agreeing, but we actually are, just because we're thinking about it in two different ways. Like with what you're saying, I kind of agree with everything you're saying. That I still think John Collins is going to get moved, and if a trade does happen, I'm not even going to speculate what it could be, but it definitely could change my mind on the outcome. Like you're saying, you're thinking about that way, and where I'm thinking of just right now, like if every team went into the season with the team they have now, the Hawks were a 10 seed last year. I still think they're in that play-in range between 7 and 10, even with Dejounte Murray. So we'll see. I do definitely agree with you where I think one of John Collins or Capella will get traded, if not both. So we'll see
Definitely.
what the Hawks can do this offseason.
So speaking of free agency, that's happened yesterday. Today on June 30th, when we're recording, this will be out on July 1st. So happy Canada Day. We didn't even
Let's
say
go.
that. Hopefully you guys are celebrating Canada Day, watching the Valley Sports Talk podcast.
That's
Uh,
exciting.
that's very exciting. But June 30th, NBA free agency open today. I'm going to go through some of the bigger names, and Brandon is going to tell me if he likes the fit and if he thinks the money was worth it. So I'll go down to the sort of start. Obviously, we just talked about the trade yesterday. We have PJ Tucker, 3 years, 33.2 mil to the Sixers. He is 37, so he's getting paid till he's 40 and is fully guaranteed.
I like the deal this year. I'm not sure what the rest. I mean, the only problem is I think Philly obviously really wants to win. Their fan base is very loud. They're not afraid to crap on their own team. So there's a lot of pressure to win, especially with the pieces they have with Tobias Harris, Maxey, Thibault, Harden, Embiid. So PJ Tucker wins everywhere he goes. So I don't think it's a bad deal. I think if you're going to get a guy like PJ Tucker, there's so much demand around the whole league for that kind of guy, so you kind of have to give him a contract like that if you want him. So I'm okay with it, honestly. He's a winner everywhere he goes, and Philly's trying to win.
I'm not going to give too much because I sort of went through the NHL, so I'll let you do the NBA. But the way I saw it is that instead of trying to spend money on big free agents, they're sort of trying to build up an all-around team where they just have obviously Embiid, and Harden is still a very good player, even though he's probably not as good as he used to be. And then they still have players like Tobias, Maxey's an up and coming. So I think they're sort of going on the route where they're trying to get depth and not just like star talent.
And it's the way to do it. Like, you look at teams that have won, like Milwaukee, they got Middleton and Giannis, and I guess you can count Holiday in there. But other than that, it's just a bunch of pieces. Same with even Golden State. You got Clay, you got Curry, but other than that, it's a bunch of pieces. I think that's the way to go.
So I'm thinking I'm going to go through about 5 or 6 or so re-signings, just like extensions. So first one, we have Bradley Beal, got a 5-year, 251 extension, Supermax.
I might be on the minority again. I don't like it, to be honest.
Who do you not like it for?
I don't like it for the Wizards. I know it'd be hard for Wizards fans to let go of Beal, but Beal's been by himself in Washington for how long now, and they've had like 1 year success where they made it to the second round, and that's, I guess, success for them. But they struggle to make the playoffs. At best, they're a playing team with Beal. I don't know. I feel like you just got to let it go at some point. I mean, Beal's got the money, and so I can't disrespect him for that. He got the big money, but they're not a team that I'm afraid of.
For sure. Canadian Lou Dort got 5 years, 87.5 from the OKC Thunder.
I honestly, this OKC team might be my favorite team in the West. Like, obviously not to win or anything, but excitement wise,
Yes.
you got Lou Dort, you got Shea, you got Chet, you got you can just
you're
keep
not a
naming.
fan of Chet. We were talking about him in the tournament there.
I know, but you know what? It's going to be exciting. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like, they're so young, they're so athletic,
and possibly Kevin Durant trade, maybe.
Maybe.
They have the picks.
It's exciting. They got a bunch of young guys. I don't know how Cap's going to work for them in the future, because the only problem with having a lot of good young pieces is they all demand a lot of money. So we'll see how that works out. But they're an exciting team. They're going to be bad, but they're going to be exciting.
For sure. D-Book, 4-year, 214.
Obviously, that was kind of guaranteed. Like, D-Book's your centerpiece. You're going to give him a max. They don't have a lot of money anymore, so we'll see how that works. They're paying Chris Paul a lot of money. So I think it's, with that contract, it's almost guaranteed Ayton's gone.
We'll go through 2 quick Raptors, since they are both our favorite teams. We have Thad Young, 2 years, 16, and Chris Boucher, 3 years, 35.25.
I think we were kind of talking about this a little bit before the podcast. I like Chris Boucher a little bit more than Noah, but I think we can both agree it's a little bit of an overpayment.
I think you got the Canadian dollar. You got the Canadian extension.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that kind of is what it is. I do like Thad Young's deal. I think me and Noah were both, we thought it was Michael Jordan out there in the playoffs in some games, but then we realized it was Thaddeus Young. He balled out in the playoffs for his standards, and he's a veteran veteran in this young locker room. So I like Thad Young's deal better, money wise and like veteran wise. I guess Chris Boucher is a vet too, but Thad Young's been around longer.
The Pistons signed Marvin Bagley. It's another contract extension. Marvin Bagley, 3 years, 37 mil.
I don't hate it. He's still young. I feel like he's just got to get into the right fit. He was drafted high for a reason. Like most GMs don't miss that badly, and I just from watching him, he's got talent. It's just he needs to find the right fit, I think. And I don't know if Detroit's it, but we'll see.
The Nuggets signed DeAndre Jordan to a 1 year. Money is still undisclosed. Obviously, just a backup to Jokic and a veteran piece. What's your thoughts, quickly?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything massive. I think it's a good backup, can play a couple minutes when Jokic is out, and like you said, veteran. So with young pieces like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, who will be back this year, it'll be good.
Two Nets re-signings. Nick Claxton, 2 years, 20 mil. Patty Mills, 2 years, 14.5.
I like them both. Patty Mills, another good veteran. He's someone who I feel like could play in the NBA forever and still be useful. And then Nicholas Claxton, I don't know why, but just watching him, I feel like he could be really good in this league. I feel like he can easily be like a 15-10 guy if he really went out there and tried.
The Mavericks signed JaVale McGee, 3 years, 20.1 mil.
I don't hate that. I feel like you need to get a little bit more for Luke to help Luca around, but like we were saying about PJ Tucker, he's kind of just been a winner wherever he's gone. So he's always been able to find ways to be impactful, and I think he'll do the same here.
This one was kind of shocking to me. Mo Bamba, 2 years, 21 mil from the Magic, re-signed.
Yeah, I was shocked too. Obviously, Mobamba isn't a massive name, but I heard in some podcasts that I watched that it didn't seem like there was a fit for him in Orlando. They do have quite an abundance of big men, and it kind of seemed like Mo Bamba was going to be the one left out. But good for him. 2 years, 20 mil. That's a lot of money.
This one's an interesting one. Lonnie Walker, the fifth, to the Lakers for 1 year, 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, before today, the Lakers had 6 players on their roster, so they're going to have to sign some people. And Lonnie Walker's
Right.
not a bad player.
No, I think he's a young player. Obviously he was this replacement as Malik Monk went to the Sacramento Kings on a 2 year, 19 mil.
Did he? I didn't see that.
Yep.
Sorry,
Malik
what's
Monk,
the price again?
2 years, 19 mil. So he's getting 8 mil a year.
Oof, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Sacramento just can't stop drafting guards or can't stop getting guards on their team.
Interesting. This was actually a trade that happened today. The Jazz traded Royce O'Neal to the Nets for first round pick next year.
I'm kind of shocked by that, to be honest. I do like it for the Nets. I do like Royce O'Neal. I think he can provide. He's a good four. Who, if I'm not mistaken, can shoot a little bit. I thought he was a good fit for the Jazz. Like he was a good person beside Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and it kind of just seemed like a good spot for him there. So I'm kind of shocked.
Victor Oladipo, 1 year, 11 mil back to the Heat.
Wow, that shocks me a lot, to be honest. Because it seems like the Miami Heat are in names for a lot of the bigger potential free agents. Like I've seen him in Kevin Durant and stuff like that. A couple other names there.
I've seen Don. I just went on to Twitter to look to see if there's any signings that I missed because I'm on the score right now and I don't know if it's up to date. The Heat are the most likely team that if Donovan Mitchell is to get traded, it will be to the Miami Heat.
That's crazy. See, that's why I'm confused because I feel like if you're going to get a guard like that, why are you signing another guard like Victor Oladipo to $11 million a year? So we'll see. Yeah.
Clippers, Nick Batum, 2 years, 22 mil.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, Nick Batum's been to a couple teams now, but just he fits that team really well. He played well last year. While there was a bunch of injuries, he was kind of that man. And
Mhm.
if they can stay healthy, if the team can stay healthy, they got a good squad.
Joe Ingles, 1 year, 6.5 mil from the Bucks.
That's a great signing for the Bucks. I love it. I've always been a Joe Ingles guy. I was kind of sad when he left Utah. I love Joe Ingles.
He's just a white guy that can shoot. We all love.
Exactly. It's amazing.
Bobby Portis, 4 years, 49 mil from the Bucks.
Yeah, he definitely played that contract in the playoffs. He was pretty good for them in the playoffs. And I mean, if he plays like he does in the playoffs, he'll be worth every penny of that. But we'll see how that goes.
And the final big one so far, Anthony Simons, 4 year, 100 mil from the Blazers.
That's a lot of money, especially when there was ties to Kevin Durant to the Trailblazers to pair up with Dame. I don't know what the Trailblazers are doing. I like the signing because Anthony Simons, if I'm not mistaken, is still pretty young. Um,
He's like 23, I believe.
yeah, exactly. But like, I feel like in a Bradley Beal situation, sort of like the Bradley Beal situation, I think they gotta get rid of Dame. I think they gotta trade Dame. Do
Hmm.
it. Blow it up. Not good with him. Won't be good without him.
And yeah, that's about it for big names. Some names we have not seen sign yet are some of Zach LaVine, um, Colin Sexton. We forgot about this one. Jalen Brunson. Oh no, yeah, it hasn't officially signed yet.
I think it's safe to say Jalen Brunson is a Nick.
Yeah,
Um,
the Mavs threw a 5 year 106 at him, and he's deciding between the two currently.
yeah, I mean, in the NBA, I mean, I think um, compared to other sports, you do see a lot of bigger name people stay with their team. So I do predict that Colin Sexton will be a Cav, and I do predict that Zach LaVine will be a Bull.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I could see. I definitely think that Sexton will be back. I think he'll be back on sort of a 1 or 2 year deal, sort of prove it because he was hurt a lot this year, and there
Yeah.
was the emergence of Darius Garland this year, and then Zach LaVine is the one that I'm sort of interested on because I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know what fits him. Um, I don't really know. Like this, I heard the Spurs name earlier in the offseason, but now they trade DeJounte and they're going into a full rebuild. I don't think Zach LaVine is a name that will go to them now. So I'm not really sure on
No,
Zach LaVine.
I'm kind of agreeing on you. Like, if one of them's gonna leave their team, it will be Zach LaVine. But like you said, I do think Zach LaVine, playing on the Timberwolves and the Bulls now, I think he wants to be on a winning team. Um, so I don't know where that spot could be
I mean, the
for him.
Bulls were technically a winning team this year.
Yeah, that and they can offer him a lot of money, but like I was just saying with the Spurs, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Um,
maybe he's still. I'm just assuming that he's the type of guy who he seems like he wants to win.
I feel like every NBA player wants to win. So,
Yeah, well,
um,
fair enough.
and I believe to end off our podcast instead of doing trivia, you have sort of like a fun top five or a different top five.
Yeah, I thought we should get off the sports a little bit. We threw a lot of information at you. There's almost even too much for me, and I was just reading it off a screen. And I think over the next couple weeks with free agency in both NBA and NHL, there'll be a lot more sports news to throw at people. So I think we should get off that. And I wanted to do our personal own top five video games from basically like our childhood, games we played as children that kind of impacted our lives a little bit, and like games you have a lot of memories from. So we're doing five. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I this one was hard for me. I had two honorable mentions, and they are franchises. It's the NHL franchise and Madden franchise, just because I couldn't pick one game from that were just like my favorite. Just because I've played all of them. Every year I buy the new game that comes out, so I couldn't really. I found it hard for me to sort of pick those games, so I just sort of put that the NHL and Madden franchises as honorable mentions because it was hard.
Yeah, I also have those. I have a lot of honorable mentions, honestly. I
Varsity,
had those as well. I had Wii Sports because as a kid
good one.
we
Yeah,
all played that. Guitar Hero 3,
yeah.
um,
For you, that's a good one. Yeah.
especially. Um, as much as it pains me to say, as much as I hate the game now, Fortnite for a couple years when it first came out and we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
There were a
didn't even
lot of good
think about
memories
that.
on Fortnite. And
Yes, a lot of memories yelling at my TV.
another big one for me was Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games for the Wii. Love that one. And then last honorable mention is a game we all played when we were allowed computer time in elementary school is Pop Tropica. Remember
Pop
a lot of
Tropica.
memories from
Wow, I
that.
didn't even think about that,
I
man.
know. A lot of memories from that game.
Yeah.
But since I'm going, I'll start off with my number 5. I have Mario Kart for the Wii, um, or the DS. I remember like
Yep.
even
Yeah.
even on football, we would like high
Yeah.
schoolers in football
We would.
would.
We're high school kids, and we bring our DSs on the bus just to race Mario Kart on the way to football games. So yeah, that was a
Oh, it
good one.
was so much fun. We'd just be screaming at each other on the bus, like if someone threw a blue shell at somebody or something like that. But so like yeah, being high school kids and playing that on the bus was pretty pathetic, but it was lots of fun. And then also just as a kid beforehand playing it on the Wii, so many memories on that game.
Um, my number 5 is going to be a pretty hot take. I know you're not going to like it, being a Call of Duty fan, but at number 5, I have COD Ghosts.
You did love that game, to be fair. You
I
did love it.
still do love it. I don't think it was a very good COD game, but it was the first COD game that I played a lot. So
That's fair.
that's mainly the reason it's up there. Obviously it's probably one of the worst COD games now I look back at it, but the amount of like Infected that I used to play was
In fact, it
nuts.
was great.
I just played Infected till went to bed. It's not a very good game, but if we're talking about memories, it's probably the first COD game that I actually played a lot, so I have to sort of put it up there.
You know what? The more I remember Call of Duty games, like Ghosts actually I don't think was as bad as we say it was. I
That
think
was
this will help you, but I think the reason it got so much hate is because it came out around the Black Ops 2 era, which many people believe to be the best Call of Duty of all time. So it's hard to top that, but I think Ghost is better than people might remember.
um the oh yeah. So I am not one to play campaigns very much, but Ghost was it probably still is the only COD campaign I've actually fully completed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we did play a lot of Infected on that game. I'll
Yep,
give you
we did rip a lot of Infected.
that. My number 4 is just Pokemon in general. As a young child, played a lot of Pokemon. Um, it was a lot of fun. Always just like again on the DS, you could kind of go anywhere. You didn't need Wi-Fi, which was the fun part. So bringing the DS to like playing it in elementary school and bringing my DS to elementary school and comparing my Pokemon to my friends.
Yeah, we
It
did
was
that this year in university.
yeah, we are
We
losers.
ripped Pokemon for a bit in university, which is kind of
It's fun.
embarrassing.
It's a good game. It always will be.
Oh yeah. So my number 4 is another Call of Duty game. It was the game that you talked about. It's the game that I play the most now still is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Probably in my eyes, the best Call of Duty game ever made to this day. I have a lot of good memories on that. I started my first ever YouTube channel with Brandon's brother on that. Rage Clan. That was interesting. We started a Call of Duty clan, so I have to throw that up there as it was a lot of my early high school years were played on Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Yeah. As you can tell, we are Call of Duty people. Number 3 for me is Modern Warfare 2. Um,
I didn't play it enough. That's why it's not on mine.
yeah,
Spoiler.
it's so a lot of people before Black Ops 2 like a lot of people do still say this is the best Call of Duty of all time. Its multiplayer was amazing. It had those side missions, this like special ops or survival mode, which was so much fun. Um, And like Noah said, for me, I got Xbox Live at a very young age. Um, so this might be dating myself a little bit, but whenever I got Xbox Live was when Modern Warfare 2 came out. So this is the first game I played online against other people. So there was a lot of memories there. Dying a lot because I was probably like an 11-year-old kid.
Well, I wouldn't.
Just,
It'd be interesting to
just
see what
listening
your.
to people swear all the
It'd be
time.
interesting to see what your KD is.
Oh, it's
Frig
got to
you,
be
man.
terrible.
On the
It's got to
mic,
be
Brandon.
terrible.
Oh, man,
Just
frig
dying
you.
constantly. Yeah. Oh, people swore like crazy. I loved it because like I said, I was an 11-year-old kid just just learning online games and dying constantly, and the people telling me I'm trash was always fun.
So my third one is one that you already mentioned, and it is Wii Mario Kart. Um, It's just a classic. My first ever console was a Wii. So that and Wii Sports were just what I played constantly on that because they were the classics. I got really good at them, then I stopped playing it, and I got really bad at them because we played a lot at school this year, and I was not very good. Brandon, however, is good at every single video game he plays, so he would always rip. He got the perfect race this year, where in like the four race circuit, he got first every time. He had the perfect one.
Yeah, I can die a happy man.
He was very hyped about that. So.
I have a picture. I took a picture.
Yep, of course he did.
Very happy man.
So yeah, Wii Mario Kart, classic game. It's got to be up there.
Two for me. I think this might be the second most time spent on a video game. Is Minecraft. I know it. I played so much Minecraft as a kid. I know. Back on the computer, me and my brother, we had Noah was at the same school. We'd have school at 9:30. I would wake up at 7 just to wake up, eat, brush my teeth, get dressed, and then play Minecraft on the computer. And then once we got an Xbox, same thing. Me and Brody Phillips would wake up at 7 in the morning and play our world together on the Xbox.
Until you went to school.
Yeah, until we went to school. I've played so much Minecraft. Me and Noah, and over COVID, and a couple of our friends even made a world.
Yeah, on the Xbox.
On the Xbox, and if I'm bored, I find myself jumping onto it and looking around the odd time. So it's a game that never dies, and there's always something to do in it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So my number two is a game that our roommate Brennan would have at number one, and it is Skate 3.
Oh yes.
It's a game that my friend James got me into. He had it on his Xbox, and that's whenever I would be at his house, that's all we would play is Skate 3. I'm not very good at it. Like I do the same tricks every time, but it's just a game that every time I would hang out with my friends, it'd be a game we would play. And I bought it for my Xbox at our school. So me and my roommate would play it a lot. Me and Brandon's roommate, sorry, would play it a lot at school. And it's just like one of those games that you can just sit down and just like it's a free play game, right? So you can do whatever you want. There's no like set rules. There's no objectives, but there's no like there's no score limit. It's just one of those games that you can just sit down and just play for hours.
Yeah, it's such a good pick because video games today I find are like they're so competitive now, and like video games were meant to be relaxing and enjoyable. And I don't think anybody's ever been frustrated playing Skate 3, and you're
Nope.
you're always
Well, I mean,
laughing.
I've definitely been frustrated when I haven't landed a trick, but
But like not enough to shut the game off.
no.
It's always an
Speaking of
enjoyable
games, today in the gym, I walk on the treadmill at the end. I lost 4 games straight of Clash Royale and is no longer an app on my phone. I kid you not. It is no longer an app on my phone.
I was thinking of putting Clash on here, but I didn't.
I promise you, it's no longer on my phone, and
You'll
I
get
don't
it
think it will not be back until the school year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. September you'll have it. I'm not worried about that.
I am not playing. I'm not downloading it until then.
I'm interested to hear what your number one is because I don't know what it'd be. My number one is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I think I spent more hours on that game than any other video game, like all the other video games combined. My playtime on that game is disgusting. Like I was Prestige Master on that game in multiplayer within a year. Did the campaign. I've played way too much zombies. It's insane. Me and a couple of my friends, Braden, who's on the podcast all the time. Me and him played that game from grade 6 to grade 10.
Till today.
Oh, even today, but like hard between grade 6 and grade 10. Like probably 4 times a week, like after school for hours. We played way too much Call of Duty Zombies. It's my favorite game mode of all time is Call of Duty Zombies. And Black Ops 2 was the game I had most fun on for zombies, so it's got to be number one.
Very good choice. My number one is a franchise that you already said, but I picked a certain game. It is Pokemon Platinum for the DS.
Fair enough.
This game was literally from like grade 5 to even in university, we pirated it onto our laptops to play. It was one of those games where every time I was at my granny's with my cousins, we'd all have our DSs open playing the games. We even got in trouble. We got our DSs taken away. We got told we were playing it too much. That was sort of the thing that, whenever I think of video games, I think of Pokemon. I watched like all the Pokemon movies I've seen, and Pokemon Platinum was the game that I played a lot on my DS. So
That's a very good pick.
that is up there.
Yep.
I
Pokemon
like
was
this.
such
I
a
like
game.
that thing. That was interesting.
It was very fun. I wish Braden was here because he's a big video gamer.
He probably had like Smash up there. I
You would have
didn't have
had
a
Smash. Smash would have been his number one.
I didn't have a GameCube growing up. I still want to get one to this day, but
I was never good enough at Smash. That's my problem. I was in
you're a
Smash. I
button
was a
smasher.
button smasher. Braden was good at it.
Braden knew all the combos.
Yeah. Anyways, that was
but yeah, I think that'll wrap up episode 51. Like I said, we had a lot of content. We talked for a decent while.
yes, sir.
But I think it's well worth it. So if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. If you're watching this on Canada Day, happy Canada Day. Go see the fireworks. Go have a couple pints if you're of age. And we will be back next week. Peace.
See ya.